What's going on, guys? This is Splurge bringing you ICBA Season 5, Week 2, and a notice about Week 3. This is a week late, unfortunately. I've been quite busy again. One day I'll actually catch a break and be able to upload things on time. But so Week 2, we get to face Matt O'Shea of the Montreal Milotics. He's got a scary strong team. And yeah, so doing prep for this, it was a bit interesting. I've come to the realization kind of like in the last week that I've been trying to play in a way that I'm not comfortable with, which you'll kind of see reflected in my prep and how I actually play this game. But so we're going to lead off with a Sneasel, which is choice banded, running Ice Shard, Icicle Crash, Knock Off, Poison Jab. This is kind of standard. It's speed creeping base 150. Matt has a Mega Glade. Do I need to say more? We then have Celesteela running lefties, Leech Seed Protect, Heavy Slam, Earthquake. Kind of standard, running Spadef so there's a Zapdos on the other side as well. You may be wondering why we're bringing three things which are weak to Zapdos, but it was almost like a Hail Mary versus this matchup. We then have Tentacruel running Black Sludge, Clear Body, Scald, Rapid Spin, Toxic Spikes, HP Fire. If I was able to get the Toxic Spikes down early, this game became really quite nice, as I would be able to put everything on a timer, as I didn't think that it was likely that Matt would turn up with his poison type. We then have our choice Scarf Tapu Bulu. This is like a jack of all trades. It isn't actually HP Grass, it's HP Fire. I think he had like a Skizzer or something. But so we're running Horn Leech, Zen Headbutt, HP Fire, and Stone Edge. This is kind of nice just to have a soft outspeed on everything. We then have Suicune running lefties, a Trapping, Whirlpool, Toxic, Rest, Scald. This was really to try and trap and just finish Greninja or Sylveon early. Bit of an interesting one, yeah. But you'll see how well that goes down. And then finally we have Mega Latias running Ice Beam, HP Fire, Psychic, and Recover. I genuinely can't remember what mon it was that he was running that's weak to fire, but there was something. So we're going to jump right ahead into the battle. And so what we see here is that Matt has brought the Mismagius Greninja, it's a Protein Greninja as well, Sylveon, Zapdos, Mega Gallade, and Donphan. So my thinking here was that that was it. So Suicune, I really wanted to trap both Sylveon and Donphan in this game, because once Donphan goes down, this game got a heck of a lot easier. And so I decided to lead Suicune, trying to get the Donphan early. And yeah, so we'll hop right in now. So Matt with his lovely pretty avatar. And yeah, so what we'll see is that Matt leads out with Sticks. His words, Mismagius. And so what I decide to do is I go straight for a Toxic, I think. Oh no, I go straight for the Whirlpool just in case, because at the point when I saw Mismagius, I was relatively certain it was going to be Nasty Plot, but I knew how to play around it. So if it was Nasty Plot, then Tapu Bulu dealt with it fairly easily, especially on the switch in here. There was only one thing that Mismagius was going for, and that was Thunderbolt, because it's a nice piece of coverage that Mismagius gets, and like half my team is weak to Electric, which is something which I've tried to address in post week 4 transactions. So going into week 5, which you'll hear about next week, I made some transactions. But so as you can see, we went for the Horn Leech on the surfing it, and we take down the Mismagius. A nice early lead, 6v5. Zapdos comes in. I decide to switch into Megalatias, as so if there was something that could take a Heat Wave or a Discharge, it'd be this. But so Zapdos goes straight for U-turn. It's a nice piece of intel to know. And he goes straight into the Greninja. So at this point, there probably should have been alarm bells ringing in my head that this is probably going to be a bit of a Volt turn team. But I just didn't pick up on it just yet. So as we see, the Greninja just goes straight for U-turn. So Matt getting up some nice momentum, making sure that I'm always on the back foot, which is not ideal. And it's something that this team does very well. But so the Mega Gallade comes in, and so I'm thinking that this is probably going to be Bulk Up or SD Stab plus Knockoff, because it does relatively well versus my team. So I decided to go for the Scold, trying to pick up the Burn. I was just kind of fishing, getting a little bit of chip on this thing. It wasn't anything major at this point, I felt. And so we go for the Scold, and unfortunately we don't actually pick up the Scold, which is the Burn, which I mean it's by the by. It's just fishing. It's not like it's a guaranteed thing. Grass terrain disappears, and so here we have the first semi-major move of the game, because as you can see, that's where the HP stops, by the way. Actually, I'll let it play. Yeah, so that was a crit. Where so this was the Thunder Punch was doing, I think, is just over half to the Suicune at +1. And yeah, so this really clipped a bit of my game at the wings, just not being able to use Suicune for quite a while. So I was relatively certain that I could take a hit. I could have got the Toxic off or a second Scold, which would have meant that it was close to, or if it was effectively in range of Sneasel just coming in and hitting it with something. But so unfortunately it crits, which means that Suicune's effectively unusable at this point. But so I do go for the Toxic. I was hoping that I could have comfortably lived, so that I could have switched them more comfortably at another time and just get the rest off. But so here it's like I can't afford to. I feel as if Suicune can still be of some sort of help. So I switch out into Bulu, because if I can get this in to pressure it, then we're in business. However, unfortunately, we see the knockoff from Glade. So again, I'm thinking here, well, so we've seen Bulk Up, Thunder Punch, and Knockoff. So it has, to my mind, it had to be one of its two stabs, because probably fighting as well, because it just did a relatively decent job versus me. But so what we actually see is that so the next, we're gonna, can I speed this up? Video, ratio, video track. But yeah, so what we see there is that I can't talk whilst I'm trying to sort something out. But so we see the Ice Beam revealed, which was definitely not ideal. So this is one of the big issues, is that so my team really suffers versus Bolt Beam. But so we know that Celesteela lives a hit, so we go into Celesteela, set out the Leech Seed to try and gain back a bit of HP, and so just trying to chip this thing down now. But yeah, so we get Mega Gallade down to around about kind of like in between 25 to 30%. Now, so the bold play here was to go for a second Leech Seed on the switch, but so I didn't actually make it. I just went straight for the Protect. as Zapdos gets a free switch in. And so it's one of these things where, so I was trying to make a couple of aggressive plays earlier on with the Bulu and suffered, and then so in kind of like backing off a bit, Matt is able to properly maintain momentum. As so we switch into Tentacruel on the possible U-turn, but he goes straight for the discharge because it's a free discharge now that Bulu's down, which is not ideal. So we see the U-turn pop off from Zapdos as well. So this is another free switch back into Mega Gallade. It's just not going well. But so we go for the Toxic Spikes with Tentacruel. If we can get these down, then we stand a small chance. And so Gallade is still getting chipped. So I don't want to straight up lose Tentacruel to Gallade. So I switch into Sneasel. As the Gallade goes for another knockoff, knocking off our Choice Band, and another one of our big damage dealers is clipped at the wings. And I've just moved this and I've moved it back. There we go, sorted. Yeah, just not ideal. Matt, whether it was a cover play or whether it was a big boy read, just I'm not doing well. So I go for a knockoff of my own, knock off the Expert Belt from Greninja because the knockoff is relatively free. We're a 5v5 situation, but Suicune effectively makes this a 4v5. So I switch back into Tentacruel as Greninja goes for another U-turn. And yeah, just... Oh yeah, it crits as well. Not that the crit particularly matters, but it's just another time where RNG just kind of pops its head out and reminds me of just how much of never I'm going to be able to get into this game. But so I go into Mega Latias on the discharge this time, which means that we get a free turn to Mega and then recover back our lost HP, most probably on a U-turn. But so the interesting thing here, which if I remember correctly, this is the turn which kind of throws me. So as it goes for U-turn, what we see is it actually still does a reasonable amount of damage. And so I hadn't twigged. It's another Splurge forgets to pay attention to Wi-Fi. But so I hadn't twigged that we weren't being shown a ability on Zapdos. Not an ability, an item on Zapdos. And I generally thought that was just because, for the most part, it was at full health, I believe. And so I just assumed it was leftovers. But actually, if I recall correctly, this was also Expert Belt. Although I can't remember. That may have been another game. Not certain. Let's say Sylveon now gets a free switch in. It gets poisoned. But it's not the full toxic. So it doesn't get progressively greater chip. Which is rather annoying, really. But so you switch back into Celesteela. As the Sylveon goes straight for a baton pass, whatever you want you call it. Yeah, this is the turn. So Zapdos here. Yeah, this was an interesting one. So this is the turn where I go, what? But it can't be because I was relatively confident that I could take a discharge from Zapdos if it wasn't Expert Belt. And so we do actually go down, hence why I stayed in. And so, yeah, we're now really in the hole. And at this point, I think I just start playing Hail Mary plays. So I go for the Ice Beam on Zapdos just to try and get some sort of damage on it. So we do a solid 60-70%. But the Zapdos is now able to reveal that it also has Toxic, which was in part because of my original switch into Tentacruel play. And yeah, so we're now at 5v4, but everything's just not looking pretty. Matt switches into Mega Glade as we go for the second Ice Beam to take that out. Oh, pardon me. And so we're able to take out the Mega Glade, but Greninja now has a free turn to switch in. And so I decide to switch out back into Tentacruel, as this is probably my best switch in at this point for this. As Greninja just goes for another U-turn. But yeah, so the big thing in this game was that the pivoting I didn't have the right mindset really to deal with pivoting in this game. So Zapdos comes back in, we switch back out into Mega Latias because it's our only switch in here. And so we see the discharge pop off again, doing a sweet 20, which is like 8th, 16th, 8th of our HP. As we go for the recover, as Sylveon switches in. And yeah, so I think this is the point where I start just staying in with Mega Latias. I'm not certain. No, I switch out back into Tentacruel. So we see a Hyper Voice come off from Sylveon, and so we can definitely live one more of those, at least, if not two, due to Black Sludge recovery. And yeah, I wish I could speed up the video a little bit. So we go for a Scald just to try and get damage off, but we're doing nothing. We're doing absolutely nothing. And so the Sylveon is able to now just wish up. This was a slow, demoralizing death for me, if I remember correctly. But yeah, so is that speed? Undock full screen. So we go for the second layer of speed. Faster. So the Sylveon went for Heal Bell, whilst we went for the second layer of Toxic Spikes. We go for the Scald again because we're just trying to keep this thing from doing Sylveon things too much with decent amount of health. Well, maybe that's a yawn and a half. But yeah, so we go for the Scald again. As the Sylveon goes for Wish, I think we can speed it up just once more. Faster. Yeah, so we go for another Scald, as the Sylveon goes for a Baton Pass into Zapdos. So Zapdos is now back up to full. We're going to slow this down again. Yeah, so we managed to just about live on one from the discharge as we go for a Scald. We switch in Mega Latias just when Zapdos decides to U-turn. You know, this is still going too quickly now. This is going to be really jumpy. No, that's the wrong one. There we go. Back down to normal speed, I think. So what we've seen is Tentacruel goes down to Greninja and Sylveon comes back out. Fast just a little bit, 1.1, yeah, there we go. So Suicune comes out. And so this was an opportunity to get the rest up. Just to try extend this game a little longer. Yeah, so we then kind of have a little bit of a back and forth between Sylveon and Suicune. Generally, just this game was not played well on my part. We switch out Suicune to try and preserve its health a bit. So the Sylveon goes for Wish. Excuse me. And yeah, so we then go for the Psychic just to try and get damage off on it. We do a decent amount, but so the Sylveon is just going to get it back from the Wish whilst we go down. Just trying to fish for crits or anything with the right kind of thing with damage output. Because, you know, hacks can be a win con if you're that lucky. I'm definitely not that lucky. And so Suicune now comes back out. We have the final bit of back and forth between these two. Zapdos comes back out, and Zapdos should be able to round out this game. We go down to Discharge, and because we're not banded, this isn't going to kill because he's max defense. And so, yeah, that's the game. We lose 4-0 to Matt. It was a very good game. Very, very good game. I mean, thoroughly crushed us. Just not our thing. Trying to work out how to fix this draft and how to properly play with bulky offense and other things like that. But yeah, so the bit on week 3, we played Melon. I can confirm that we lost 5-0 because we got utterly destroyed. We had to play on Showdown due to time constraints. And I was a Melon and forgot to hit save replay. Thankfully though, Melon Tosh did in fact do a live com, so definitely go check out Melon Side. It's a bit of a fun one, and again, just I'm still trying to reteach myself how to play with bulky offense. But yeah, I hope you guys have an awesome week, and I'll see you in the next one in week 4 when we play Dom of the New Jersey Nagana Devils. But yeah, have a good one, guys, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.